Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we really try to take on these, complex, important stories, peel back the layers a bit.
Yeah, break them down so you can really get what's going on beneath the surface.
Exactly. And today, we're not just looking at a story, we're sort of stepping into this really profound, very personal search for answers, for justice.
A search that's still open, tragically.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this. We're focusing on Olivia Lonebear. She was a young mother, vibrant, who back in 2017 just vanished from the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation in North Dakota.
Right. And her disappearance, it wasn't just a missing person case. It kicked off this incredible, relentless, 9-month search led by her family.
Just an unbelievable testament to their perseverance, really, against odds that just seemed huge, right? And a system that, well, sometimes felt like it was barely moving. So, as we go through Olivia's story today, it's just so important that we approach it with, the utmost respect. We really want to focus on the life she lived, her family's incredible struggle to find her, and the bigger picture, the critical context her case really shines a light on within Indigenous communities.
Yeah, it's immediately gripping, but also so important for understanding these bigger systemic issues.
Definitely.
And what's truly fascinating here, and really key for our deep dive, is just how many different angles we have on Olivia's story from the sources. It's like a mosaic.
Yeah.
We've got deeply personal accounts, from her family who lived it. Then there are the official law enforcement reports giving that investigative angle.
Right, the official side.
And then crucial insights from advocacy groups, which really help connect it to the wider crisis. So our mission today, it isn't just telling the story chronologically.
No.
It's really about meticulously pulling out those critical nuggets of knowledge from all these different places, trying to synthesize them, understand the huge challenges her family faced, trying to get answers.
And connecting it all.
And crucially, grasping the wider implications, especially, as you said, within that heartbreaking, urgent context of missing and murdered Indigenous women, the MMIW crisis. Olivia's story is such a stark example.
It really is.
So yeah, this isn't just about a disappearance. It's a deep dive into the heart of a community, these systemic problems, and that relentless, often lonely pursuit of truth and justice.
That sets the stage perfectly. And before we get into the mystery of the disappearance itself, it feels absolutely essential, like you said, to paint a real picture of who Olivia Lonebear was.
Absolutely.
It's just so vital to remember she wasn't just a name on a report. She was a person, a
Right.
real individual, full life, devoted mom, daughter, friend.
All of it.
She was born October 11th, 1985, Stanley, North Dakota. Her parents were Iris Sherman Forbear and Harley Tex Lonebear, and she was a proud child of the Dripping Dirt clan, really rooted in her heritage.
And she had her Hidatsa name too, right? Cedar Woman.
Yes, Cedar Woman. Given to her by her Magoo, which I learned is the Mandan word for grandmother, Sophie Bell. Just a beautiful, significant name.
That cultural connection, it sounds like it was really strong throughout her life.
It really does. She spent her early years, elementary, middle school, her freshman year too, right there in Newtown, North Dakota, which is kind of a central hub on the Fort Berthold Reservation.
Okay.
And people remember her as being really athletic back then, just a natural competitor, apparently. Excelled in basketball, volleyball, cross country.
Wow, busy.
Yeah, had that determined spirit, It showed up in sports and just in her life generally.
Yeah.
She did move around a bit for high school places like Brockton, Montana, Wellpinett, Washington.
Okay.
But she eventually got her high school diploma through a home study program. That was after her first daughter, Haley, was born in 2003.
Right, so she was already a young mother then.
Exactly. And family, friends, they all describe her pretty consistently. Outgoing, smart, incredibly loving, someone with a beautiful smile and loving personality that just lit up a room.
You hear that a lot.
Yeah, and her laugh, that's something that comes up again and again, this infectious, warm, genuine laugh that just made people feel instantly comfortable around her.
That really paints a picture, doesn't it? The picture from those who knew her is definitely one of a woman who just lived life with passion, really embraced things.
Seems like it.
She settled back in Newtown by 2009, making it her permanent home, building her life there, raising her family. Beyond Haley, she had 4 more kids. JC, Layla, Dame, and Brody.
5 children.
5 children. Such deep maternal love. And tragically, she also experienced loss. She had a son, Caleb, who passed away just 8 months after he was born in 2005.
Oh, wow. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, profound loss. Must have really shaped her resilience, And she was a hard worker, too. Had various jobs at the Four Bears Casino and Lodge. Apparently really enjoyed being a live games dealer there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the energy of it, maybe. She also worked at the Edgewater Golf Course, another local spot. But it wasn't all work. She loved adventure.
The traveling gypsy.
Exactly. Her obituary called her that. Loved spontaneity, playing poker, golfing, planning trips, going to concerts, always looking for the next experience.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, a friend mentioned this one time. She organized a spontaneous road trip to a concert, like drove all night just for a few hours of music.
Yeah.
That really captures that spirit, I think.
It does.
And crucially, she had this really strong, loving bond with her kids, of course, but also with her father, Harley. She actually lived with him and cared for him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, highlighting that compassionate caregiving side of her, too. These aren't just, random details. They're the brush strokes that really help us honor her memory, this vibrant, complex, loving person she was.
Absolutely. And understanding that vibrant spirit, who she was, it makes the backdrop of her life, the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation, it makes it even more significant, more poignant.
Yeah.
Because this place, it's not just geography, it's a community rich with history, culture, but also challenges. Challenges that sadly became deeply tied into her story. Can you tell us a bit more about Fort Berthold itself?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a vast area, really culturally rich, tucked into western North Dakota, covers parts of several counties, but primarily Mount Rail County. And it's the ancestral home, the cherished home of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara nations.
The 3 affiliated tribes.
Exactly, the 3 affiliated tribes. And Newtown, where Olivia lived, is one of the main hubs there, right along the northern shore of Lake Sakakawea.
Which is huge, right?
Immense. Lake Sakakawea was formed by the Garrison Dam on the Missouri River. It dominates the landscape, almost like an inland sea. And the population there, in Newtown and much of the reservation, is predominantly Native American. The cultural influence of the 3 affiliated tribes is powerful, it's living. Their traditions, languages, governance, it all shapes daily life.
Okay. And economically.
It's quite diverse, actually, dynamic. You've got traditional agriculture, but also significantly oil and gas development, especially from the Bakken Formation.
Right, the oil boom.
Yeah, which brought both, prosperity and some really complex challenges to the area. Plus, there's tourism. Lake Sakakawea is a huge draw, fishing, boating, camping. It's a recreational paradise, really.
So a mix of things driving the economy.
Definitely. And those activities provide livelihoods, support local culture, infrastructure. But like many Native communities across the U.S., Fort Berthold faces persistent challenges, too.
Such as?
Things like economic disparities, which can really impact how resources get allocated for, say, community safety, ongoing concerns with healthcare access, and crucially, this constant effort to preserve their rich cultural heritage, their languages, against all the pressures of modern society.
That sounds like a constant balancing act.
It really is. Tribal initiatives, government programs, community partnerships, they're all working on these things. So understanding where Olivia lived, it helps us appreciate that intricate community fabric, but also those systemic challenges. Challenges that can just hit so hard when a personal tragedy like this happens, especially given the unique jurisdictional complexities there.
That context is so vital for understanding what happened next. Okay, let's turn now to the timeline of Olivia's disappearance, which really started her family's just desperate, agonizing search. Olivia was 32, mother of 5. She was last seen on October 24th, 2017. She'd been at the Sportsman Bar, a local place in Newtown, seen leaving in that borrowed truck a 2011 teal Chevy Silverado.
Right.
But what makes it even more confusing and just heartbreaking for her family is the strong belief that she actually made it home after leaving the bar.
That's a key point.
Yeah, her daughter reportedly heard her talking to a sibling, saying she was just popping out for a bit, would be back later. And crucially, her purse, her cell phone, wallet, money, even the clothes she was wearing that day, all found at home.
Wow. Everything pointed to her coming right back.
Exactly. It just didn't suggest a planned departure at all. It was her father, Harley Lonebear, who officially reported her missing. That was October 27th, after they couldn't reach her for 3 agonizing days.
3 days. Must have felt like an eternity.
Oh, absolutely.
And the family's reaction was immediate, right? Just profound concern. They mobilized so quickly with incredible determination.
Her brother, Matthew Lonebear, really took the lead.
Yeah, he spearheaded those initial frantic search efforts, set up a search headquarters right away, and this amazing network of family, friends, volunteers just poured in, organized these huge ground searches.
How many people?
At one point, they had something like 15 separate teams actively looking for her, combing huge areas of the reservation. Matthew even bought a drone himself, desperate to cover more ground from the air. An airplane was used, too, for wider aerial searches.
Wow, he bought a drone himself.
Yeah, just driven by that desperation, maybe feeling a lack of official resources. The three affiliated tribes' government did step in, recognized the burden, provided financial help, hotel costs, gas, food for the searchers.
That must have been crucial.
Huge help, I imagine. But despite all that effort, all that willpower, those exhaustive searches, those initial weeks turned up absolutely nothing. No leads, just silence.
And that's when the family's frustration with the official response really started to build, wasn't it? Into this deep sense of despair.
Yeah, they were very critical, feeling they weren't getting much help from the three affiliated tribes' local law enforcement.
And it wasn't just a feeling, right? There were specifics. Detective Sam Lincoln of the TATPD, the tribal police, he said they'd checked nearby waterways early on. Initially didn't suspect foul play, and he mentioned resources would dwindle.
Which probably didn't offer much comfort.
No, for the family, that lack of immediate large-scale support was devastating. And then there were those incredibly hurtful reports from the family about an officer suggesting Olivia might have just run away or was on a multi-day party streak.
Oh, that's awful. So dismissive.
Completely contradicted everything they knew about her, especially as a mother of 5. Matthew told Dateline that TATPD just wasn't as helpful as they'd hoped. And incredibly, investigators didn't even speak directly with the family until 5 weeks after she was reported missing.
5 weeks
Mm.
in a missing person case.
5 weeks? You just can't imagine the anguish. Those first hours, first days are so critical. And they felt like they were facing this lack of urgency.
Right.
And here's where it gets really complicated, maybe truly frustrating for anyone trying to navigate this system. That whole issue of jurisdiction on tribal lands.
That's precisely right. And it's not just, bureaucratic red tape. It's a severe, persistent challenge with devastating impacts on Indigenous communities. And it absolutely impeded the search for answers in Olivia's case.
Oh, so exactly.
Well, think about it. On a reservation like Fort Berthold, an investigation could involve potentially tons of agencies. Bureau of Criminal Investigations, tribal police, BIA, county sheriffs like Ward and Williams, state agencies like Game and Fish, Highway Patrol, Tribal Game and Fish, even other counties like Burleigh.
Wow, that's a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Exactly. But the fundamental problem is the severely limited criminal jurisdiction tribal courts have over non-Indigenous people who commit crimes on tribal land. This isn't tribal law causing this. It stems from a huge U.S. Supreme Court ruling back in 1978.
Which one was that?
Oliphant v. Suquamish Indian Tribe. Basically, what Oliphant did was drastically cut back the inherent power of tribal nations to prosecute non-native individuals for crimes committed on their own land.
Creating these gaps in justice.
Precisely. What people often call a legal vacuum or a jurisdictional maze. Tribal police find their hands tied. Their investigative powers can be limited, and crucially, they often can't prosecute non-Indigenous suspects themselves.
So the red tape makes progress just incredibly difficult.
Incredibly difficult. Cases stall. They go unresolved. Families are left without answers. Perpetrators might not face consequences. It's not just about delays. It's about critical evidence potentially being lost in those early hours while agencies figure out who's responsible for what. It gives perpetrators a head start.
A systemic issue with real-world consequences for victims.
Absolutely. And recognizing this challenge and the family's immense frustration, eventually, in February 2018, the Bureau's Indian Affairs, the BIA, officially took over the investigation. That was at the request of both the tribe and Olivia's family. Tribal police assisted after that point.
So BIA took the lead several months in.
Yeah, and you can really start to see how this huge systemic issue directly impacts families like Olivia's, just prolonging their agony and making that path to answers incredibly difficult.
That jurisdictional maze, it just complicated everything from the get-go, and it seems like that extended to a really critical piece of the puzzle, the repeated pleas to search Lake Sakakawea.
Yes.
How much of that delay in searching the lake do you think was down to that jurisdictional confusion versus maybe other factors law enforcement pointed to?
That's a great question, and honestly, it's probably hard to fully separate them. On one side, yeah, when you have multiple agencies and no one has clear, undisputed authority over a specific search area or technique, resources can get stuck.
Everyone waiting for someone else.
Kind of. Waiting for someone to take the lead or maybe allocate specialized gear like sonar boats. For Olivia's family, the frustration was just immense because Lake Sakakawea is massive. It covers, what, 1/5 of the reservation?
Huge area.
Geographically critical. right near her home. Yet Matthew's pleas, his constant pushing to get law enforcement to search it, they just went unanswered for way too long.
And then winter came.
Exactly. That compounded the tragedy. By November, just weeks after she vanished, the lake started freezing, making any kind of effective water search impossible until spring. You have to imagine the family's torment, knowing that potential answer was right there, but frozen under the ice.
Just agonizing.
And then, even more heartbreakingly, early summer 2018, a full 8 months after she disappeared, Matthew mentioned a water search was finally supposed to happen. But even then, he felt like law enforcement kept pointing fingers at who was supposed to be doing this water search.
So still confusion, even months later.
It seemed that way to him. Now, law enforcement did talk about the difficulties. Searching a lake that vast, that murky, they described it like looking through coffee.
Not easy, technically speaking.
No, it's huge. Average depth, 62 feet, covers 480 square miles, almost the size of Rhode Island, essentially. And they did point out they'd followed over 500 leads, looking into things in multiple states, showing their land-based efforts were extensive.
But for the family, the focus was always that lake.
It was the missing piece, potentially right in their backyard. That period of delay, that perceived inaction around the lake search, it was undeniably this critical point of contention. As Matthew said, all of that heartache and uncertainty could have been avoided if they had just searched.
You can absolutely understand that perspective.
Yeah. While you can acknowledge the real challenges of searching that lake and that Ellie was pursuing other leads, the family's experience was one of inaction. And the emotional toll that took, it just deepened their anguish, transformed hope into this constant gnawing anxiety.
This agonizing wait, though, it ultimately led to someone unexpected stepping in, didn't it? Lissa Yellowbird Chase.
Yes. A controversial figure, perhaps, but definitely crucial.
She's also a member of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikaran Nation, like Olivia. And she got involved early on, using social media to spread the word, gather support.
Right. And she wasn't new to this. She had this profound personal connection to the issue of missing persons, a long history as an advocate in Indian country. She actually founded an organization called the Sonish Scouts back in 2015.
Sonish Scouts.
Yeah, specifically to search for and recover missing people in Indigenous communities, often stepping to those gaps left by official channels.
Wow. And her own story is pretty incredible, too.
It really is a story of immense resilience. She overcame incredibly difficult experiences: sexual assault, sex trafficking, addiction, even incarceration.
Oh, my goodness.
But despite all that, she earned a criminal justice degree, worked multiple jobs, and found this powerful purpose as a legal advocate for the 3 affiliated tribes. She even had successes before Olivia's case. She helped find those responsible for Christopher Casey Clark's death, though his body, sadly, is still missing. And she located her own niece, Carly Yellowbird, using her network and skills. She proved she could be effective as an independent searcher.
So she had a track record.
Definitely. But her involvement in Olivia's case, while pivotal, was also complex, especially her relationship with Olivia's family and law enforcement.
How so?
Well, Lissa became deeply convinced the lake held answers, and feeling it wasn't being explored properly, she decided to just search it herself. This was July 2018.
Using her own resources.
Yeah, described as a rundown boat and sonar equipment, a real testament to her determination. And remarkably, after days searching, she found this rectangular object on her sonar.
The truck.
Looked like it. She sent the image to her mentor, a technical diver named Keith Cormican, who confirmed it looked like a truck. It was on a Saturday. She immediately texted Chief Deputy Corey Bristol, the BIA.
And did he respond?
Instantly. Even though he was an hour away, he recognized the significance and responded right away.
But you mentioned tensions with the family.
Yeah, the dynamics weren't always smooth, reflecting maybe the intense pressure, different approaches in that kind of search. Olivia's brother, Matthew, he expressed some strong feelings. Called Yellowbird Chase, a thorn in our sides. Said he'd asked her to leave the search months before she found the truck.
Why?
He mentioned emotions and feeling things were not always on the up and up in their interactions. Suggests maybe a clash of personalities or methods during that incredibly stressful time.
That's tough.
So tough that Lissa didn't even attend Olivia's funeral because of those tensions. And law enforcement opinions were mixed too. Some saw her as a nuisance, maybe posing as an investigator. Others were genuinely happy she is helping when resources are scarce.
A complicated picture.
Very. But it's important to note Olivia's uncle publicly thanked Lissa, expressed profound appreciation for her help, even gave her a star blanket.
A symbol of respect.
Exactly. A symbol of respect and appreciation for her relentless work finding Olivia. It really highlights those complex dynamics in missing person cases. Passion, initiative, clashing with protocols, but sometimes still getting critical results.
And those results, after 9 long months of just agonizing uncertainty, were devastatingly profound. July 31st, 2018. Following Lissa's discovery, after all the coordination between agencies, the recovery effort began. Took a few days, apparently. A complex task pulling that truck from Lake Sakakawea.
Underwater recovery is never simple.
No. The truck was submerged 20 feet down, about 400 feet from shore, and just heartbreakingly less than 1.5 miles from Olivia's home.
So close. All that time.
So close. Finally, that teal Chevy Silverado was pulled from the water, and inside, Olivia Lonebear's remains were found, still buckled into the passenger seat.
The passenger seat, not the driver's seat.
The passenger seat. Matthew was there, witnessed it all, just this agonizing moment ending the search but deepening the mystery. She was identified initially by her tattoos, later confirmed by DNA.
Bringing that definitive but just heartbreaking ID, the emotional impact. It must have been immense, like a gut punch after months holding on to hope.
Matthew described it as devastating, but also, like there weren't even words.
How could there be? Relief mixed with sorrow and this fresh wave of questions. Imagine 9 months searching everywhere, enduring dismissive comments, only to find her so close in circumstances that just raise more questions.
Yeah, finding her brought an end to the physical search, but started this new, equally difficult quest for how she got there. What happened?
A cruel twist. Finding her brought more questions than answers.
And those answers, devastatingly, just proved elusive, left the family with this open wound.
The autopsy results were inconclusive, weren't they?
Yeah. An autopsy was done, but the official finding, cause and manner of death, unable to be determined. The medical examiner said they couldn't tell if it was natural, traumatic, or toxicology.
Couldn't even determine drowning.
Couldn't even determine if she drowned, which, one source noted, was surprising. It can happen, apparently, after long submersion. Decomposition makes definitive findings hard. But the fact she was found buckled into the passenger seat,
Yeah, that detail.
it likely rules out the possibility of drowning by accidentally driving in herself, which just adds layers to the mystery. If she wasn't driving, who was? If she didn't drown, what killed her?
The implications of that undetermined cause of death are just huge. For the investigation, for the family's need for closure.
Right. Law enforcement said they have not ruled out murder or manslaughter. They're still investigating.
But without a clear cause, where do you even focus? It leaves open all these horrifying scenarios. It just perpetuates that open wound for the family, intensifies the grief, prolongs the uncertainty. It's like a legal dead end where justice can't really be settled.
The investigation didn't completely stop, though, which is crucial for her family. After she was found, efforts continued, maybe slowly, but they continued, to piece together her last moments.
What kind of efforts?
Well, in 2019, nearly 2 years after she disappeared, months after she was found, they finally got a court order for her Facebook data and the OnStar information from the truck.
OnStar, that could be huge. GPS data, vehicle info.
Exactly. Which raises that question our sources noted, and I think anyone listening would ask, why this information wasn't obtained when she went missing versus after being found? Why the delay on getting those digital breadcrumbs?
That's a really valid question. That data could have been critical early on.
Definitely feels like it. Beyond that, a witness reported one of Olivia's last texts, sent to James Hoffhang, the friend she borrowed the truck from.
Okay.
It said she was at a bonfire and about to go mudding. But authorities apparently could never find anyone who went to this bonfire or mudding with her.
So another dead end. Or maybe she wasn't with anyone.
Yeah.
Or someone hasn't come forward.
Right. So many questions. Was she alone? Was she with someone who's just never spoken up? Matthew Lonebear said police asked him not to comment on who owned the truck or if she was with them because it was an open and active investigation.
Keeping things close to the chest.
Seems like it. We also know that last text to James Hoffhang was at 10:24 p.m., October 25th, 2017, and it just said, goodbye.
Chilling.
But then, just 13 minutes later, 10:37 p.m., her phone sent another text to Adam Bangan, a man she'd dated previously.
Okay, so activity after the goodbye text.
Yes,
Huh?
and then even later, 11:24 p.m., her Facebook cover photo was changed, and her phone last accessed Facebook at 11:38 p.m. After that, nothing. No more outgoing activity. That short window of time is just a critical puzzle.
And those digital fragments, even years later, they're clearly still crucial. Because the investigation is still active,
Very
right?
much so.
Those unsealed court records from May 2022 you mentioned, showing the FBI got a warrant for Google location history. Not just hers, but from any devices near where she was found that night.
Yeah, casting a wide net, digitally speaking.
It shows they're actively pursuing those leads, trying to pinpoint anyone else who might have been there. And the FBI is still offering that reward up to $10,000 for information leading to identifying who was responsible for her disappearance and death.
The investigation is definitely not closed.
No. And this raises an important question, really, for anyone listening now. Who was with Olivia that night? What do they know? The authorities are basically sending out this persistent call. Someone had to be with Olivia that night, know what she was up to, or even laid eyes on her that night, and we need you to come forward.
Even the smallest detail could matter.
Absolutely. Something you thought was insignificant back then could be the key. The key to bringing justice for Olivia and her family, giving them the answers they desperately need for closure. Every single piece matters.
Olivia's story, as heartbreakingly unresolved as it still is, sadly not unique, is it? Her case connects so powerfully to that much broader, urgent crisis, the epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women, MMIW.
It's vital we make that connection.
The statistics are they're shocking. They demand attention. They show the stark reality Indigenous women face daily. Like, Indigenous women are victims of violent crimes at a rate 10 times higher than any other group in the U.S.
10 times. It's staggering.
And murder. It's the third leading cause of death for Indigenous women. When you dig into the data, it's profoundly unsettling. More than 4 out of 5, 84.3% Indigenous women experience violence in their lifetime.
Over 80%.
Over half, 56.1%, experience sexual violence. Nearly half, 48.8%, are stalked.
The vulnerability is just immense.
Compared to white women, Indigenous women are 1.7 times more likely to experience violence, twice as likely to be raped, and the murder rate, 3 times higher than for white American women.
3 times higher.
And our sources specifically point to the Bakken oilfield region where Olivia lived as a place where violence against Indigenous women has skyrocketed.
Yeah, the oil boom connection.
It seems clear that rapid influx of mostly male, non-Indigenous transient workers into remote areas, it disrupts things, strains local law enforcement, creates environments where people with few community ties can exploit jurisdictional gaps, exploit vulnerabilities.
And then just disappear back home.
Exactly. Leaving investigations stalled. Locals speculate many deaths are linked directly to this transient population. It just highlights this desperate need for better oversight, better protection.
And it's absolutely crucial to hammer home that Olivia's case, while tragic in its own right, is fundamentally not rare or unique to the area. This is a widespread systemic crisis.
Across the whole country.
All across the U.S. Documented hotspots in Alaska, South Dakota, Montana, Arizona. It extends into Canada, too. Think of the Highway of Tears. North Dakota alone. Over 125 documented cases of missing Indigenous women and girls.
Wow, just in North Dakota.
And the data suggests over 2/3 of these violent acts against Indigenous people are committed by non-Indigenous perpetrators, which really underscores that dangerous intersection of race, gender, and jurisdiction we talked about earlier.
Right, the jurisdictional gaps again.
Exactly. And the chronic lack of coverage by mainstream media, combined with those systemic justice issues, it makes this a silent and deadly phenomenon. It allows it to continue almost unnoticed by the wider public, perpetuating this cycle of violence and impunity.
A silent epidemic.
Pretty much. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Olivia's story isn't just one tragedy. It's a stark, painful example of this widespread human rights issue with deep historical roots.
It goes way back.
Centuries back.
Yeah.
Entangled with colonial policies, forced removal, assimilation, systemic racism in the justice system that just historically devalued Indigenous lives. That history contributes to underreporting today, deep distrust of law enforcement, and a lack of action that continues.
So it's not just current events.
No, this isn't just statistics. These are lives, families ripped apart. It's an urgent call for awareness, accountability, and real systemic change from all of us.
But there has been a growing movement, right, and legislative efforts to address MMIW, largely driven by Indigenous advocates and families themselves.
Yes, definitely. There has been progress, which is important to acknowledge. May 5, 2019, that was designated the National Day for Missing and Murdered Native Women and Girls. A crucial step for recognition, remembrance, advocacy.
And Operation Lady Justice.
Right, also 2019. Executive Order 13898 created that task force, focused specifically on improving data collection policies, creating cold case teams, better investigative responses for these cases.
And Savannah's Act
Became law in 2020. Named after Savannah LaFontaine Greywind, another horrific MMIW case from North Dakota, that act requires the Department of Justice to review, revise, develop policies specifically for MMIP missing and murdered Indigenous persons cases, aiming for better coordination.
And then the missing and murdered unit within BIA.
Announced in 2021 by Interior Secretary Deb Haaland, the first Native American cabinet secretary, a dedicated unit within the Bureau of Indian Affairs focused on analyzing and solving these long-neglected cases.
So real steps at the federal level.
Yes, and alongside that, powerful grassroots movements. Online campaigns using hashtags like #MeO, #NoMoreStolenSisters, raising awareness, mobilizing action, getting these stories out there.
And the symbolism, the red color.
Yeah, the official color of the MMIW movement is red. In many tribal traditions, red is believed to be the only color spirits can see. So wearing red is a way to call back the missing spirits, allow them to be laid to rest, honored properly.
That's powerful. And the image, the woman with the feather and the turquoise teardrop.
Right. Widely recognized symbol. The teardrop represents the sorrow, the tears shed. Turquoise is deeply symbolic in many Indigenous cultures: protection, strength, prosperity. It's a message of resilience, even amidst such profound grief.
These efforts, legislative and advocacy, they offer hope. But significant challenges still remain, don't they? Preventing a full, effective response.
Unfortunately, yes, data collection is still incredibly difficult. And it's not just, sloppy paperwork. It's systemic. Poor record keeping across different law enforcement levels. Pervasive underreporting, often rooted in that historical distrust of authorities.
And racial misclassification.
Critically important. Indigenous women might be wrongly identified as white, Hispanic, other in official records, which makes them effectively invisible in the stats, in the very systems meant to protect them. And the lack of consistent, sensitive media coverage just compounds it all.
So the true scale is still hidden.
These factors create an inaccurate picture. They minimize the true extent of that violence, makes it harder to allocate resources properly, track trends, hold systems accountable.
And the jurisdictional issue hasn't gone away.
No. There's a strong argument from sources and advocates that unless we see substantial shifts in governmental procedures and jurisdiction is given back to local communities, it is unclear how much systemic change we will actually see. It goes back to Oliphant. Without tribal nations having full criminal jurisdiction over all crimes on their lands, those legal vacuums persist.
So even with new laws, the core problem might remain.
It's a major concern. When you look at other cases, Savannah LaFontaine Greywind, Jennifer Catchaway, it feels like the opportunity to finally resolve this deadly pattern is being ignored time and time again. Progress is happening, yes, but the path to real justice, real systemic change, it's long. It requires sustained attention, determined action from everyone, not just policy changes, but dismantling those historical barriers to safety.
Which brings us back to Olivia Lonebear. Her case, regrettably, remains unresolved. Just a stark, painful reminder of this broader crisis.
Still waiting for answers.
Still waiting. And the FBI is still actively seeking information. Underscores how open this still is. They're offering that reward up to $10,000 for verifiable details leading to identifying who was responsible for her disappearance and death.
So people can still help.
Absolutely. If you have any information at all, even if you think it's small, please call 800-CALF-FBI. That's 800-225-5324. Or you can file tips online anonymously at tips.fbi.gov.
Tips.fbi.gov.
Yeah. Just think of the impact on Olivia's 5 children, her whole family. Still longing for answers, for truth, for justice. That closure they've been denied for so long, they're still waiting.
And what Olivia's uncle said, we don't need to have that part in our mind, our bodies, our spirits wondering. That just perfectly underscores that deep, fundamental human need for closure. Not just for Olivia's family, but for countless others across Indigenous communities facing similar unresolved tragedies.
That need to know.
That need to know. So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Well, it means awareness. It means advocacy. And most importantly, it means remembering Olivia. Remembering the countless other Indigenous women whose lives have been undervalued, whose cases have gone unsolved.
Don't let them be forgotten.
Exactly. Olivia's story, like so many others, it challenges us. Not just to ask what happened, but why does this keep happening with such tragic frequency? And maybe most importantly, what role do we all play in demanding a world where no life, especially an Indigenous woman's life, is dismissed, forgotten, or seen as less worthy of justice? Her story is really a call to action, to ensure every missing person is sought with the same urgency and every family gets the answers they deserve.